Welcome to the September 5th, 2024 Board of Zoning Appeals meeting. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Let's start with a roll call. We'll start on your end, Board Member Scales.
Board Member Scales present.
Board Member Reeves.
Present.
Board Member Langley is present, and Board Member Smith.
Present.
All right, so we are all here, missing Mr. Fleshauer. So next we'll move to citizen comments. This is open for citizens to be heard on any issue or concern. If you would like to speak on a specific item on the agenda, please wait until the citizen comment period for that item. For all citizen comments, please fill out a speaker card and hand that to staff. And those are at the back for any citizens in attendance that want to fill one of those out for us. Two, come up to the microphone and state your name and address and limit your comments to 2 minutes. Are there any citizens who would like to speak to the board this time? We will have a comment period for each individual item if you have specific questions or concerns about those individual items on the agenda tonight. All right, seeing none, we'll continue on. Next item is consideration of approval of the August 1st, 2024 meeting minutes. Is there a motion?
I move to approve the minutes.
Motion for approval made by Board Member Smith. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member Scales. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, none opposed, so the minutes are approved. Next is, I think, staff announcements we had on the regular agenda. Do y'all have anything?
The only thing that I will say is, as you guys can see, Amy's not here. So I am, again, running the civic clerk and everything just on my own tonight. So just, if you can bear with me, move a little bit slowly onto new items, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
That sounds good. All right, so next is, every time we reach this time of the year, I think, how in the world are we approving another calendar? So this item is consideration of approval of the 2025 BZA deadlines and schedules calendar. Any comments from board members at all? All right, I looked at it. All the dates look fine. We've avoided most of the major holidays. We have a meeting on July 3rd, but July 4th is a Friday this year, so we have like all that aligned. If we could get Christmas, closer to the weekend, we'd be good too. Is there a motion for approval of the BZA calendar for 2025?
I move to approve the BZA calendar for 2025.
Okay, motion for approval made by Board Member Scales. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member Smith. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, seeing none opposed, the schedule is approved. So moving on is going to be item 3. It's a variance request to allow an accessory structure to be located 2 feet from the side lot line for the property located at 206 Lewisburg Avenue. Staff?
Thank you and good evening. The subject property is located at 206 Lewisburg Avenue. It is zoned R4 Residential District and is within the Historic Preservation Overlay and Central Franklin Overlay. The applicant is proposing a 2-car carport aligned with the existing driveway located in the backyard area. The existing driveway is approximately 20 feet wide, and the proposed 2-car carport is approximately 22 feet wide, which is consistent with a typical 2-car carport. The existing driveway runs along the northern property line, abutting the property line. In order to align with the existing driveway, the proposed carport is located 2 feet from the northern property line. Carports are classified as accessory structures, and the zoning ordinance requires accessory structures to be located at least 5 feet from any property line. For this reason, the applicant is requesting a variance for an accessory structure to be located 2 feet from the side lot line. Because this property is located in the Historic Preservation Overlay, an accessory structure is required to be approved by the Historic Zoning Commission, or HZC. This proposed accessory structure was approved by the HZC on July 8th, 2024, with the condition that they must receive a variance, among other conditions. I'll now go into staff analysis for each criteria. The BZA may authorize a variance only when the request has met all 3 criteria in accordance with the Franklin zoning ordinance and state law. Criteria 1, where by reason of exceptional narrowness, shallowness, or shape of a specific piece of property at the time of the enactment of the zoning ordinance, or by reason of exceptional topographic conditions or other extraordinary and exceptional situations or conditions, such a piece of property is not able to accommodate development as required under this ordinance. The existing driveway is located between the existing home and the northern property line, abutting both. Since the existing driveway is located right up against both the home and the property line, it could not be moved farther from the property line than its existing location. So in order to construct a two-car carport to align with the driveway, it would need to be closer to the property line than 5 feet. In addition, the backyard space is limited, and there's a shed located roughly in the middle of the backyard, which is preventing the applicant from moving the carport and reorienting it. Staff finds this criteria is met. Criteria 2, the strict application of any provision enacted under the zoning ordinance would result in peculiar and exceptional practical difficulties for or exceptional or undue hardship upon the owner of the property. In order to comply with the setback requirements, the carport would have to be misaligned with the existing driveway. This would make it inaccessible for 2 cars as a front-loading carport. If the carport were moved to the backyard area to be side-facing, it would take up the majority of the backyard space, and the existing shed would need to be relocated or removed. Staff finds this criteria is met. Criteria 3, such relief may be granted without substantial detriment to the public good and without substantially impairing the purpose and intent of the zoning ordinance. Staff finds that this proposed carport would not be a detriment to the public good and would not impair the intent of the zoning ordinance. The existing driveway is already located against the property line, so the structure would not be any closer to the neighbor's property than the location where cars are currently able to be parked in the existing driveway. In addition to the proximity to neighbors, aesthetic consistency contributes to the intent of the zoning ordinance. Since the proposed carport aligns with the existing driveway, it is more aesthetically consistent with the common design of carports than for it to be misaligned with the driveway to comply with the setbacks. Staff finds this criteria is met. Recommended motion. Staff recommends that the Board of Zoning Appeals move to approve the variance request to allow an accessory structure to be located 2 feet from the side lot line for the property located at 206 Lewisburg Avenue because the criteria for granting a variance have been met. This concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, staff. Is the applicant present?
My name is Mike Hendren. My wife and I reside at 206 Lewisburg Avenue. A couple of points I want to make in addition to Ariel's summary, and I appreciate the staff's support, is that, one, it's not just an alignment issue. To comply with the 5-foot setback agreement would require kind of some zigzag parking to park in the southern bay of the proposed carport. And in all likelihood, that may necessitate us demolishing an existing raised stone patio that's at the back of the property. The second point I would want to make is with the cars in the new proposed carport, the cars will actually be farther from the property line than they are currently being parked, since the driveway abuts the property line. And finally, I'll note that we've also met with Caroline and Austin Bass, who live next door and would be the property most impacted. We asked that Austin's father, Bob, who once owned this property, also attend that meeting at our yard. Bob's a good friend, and as you know, I suspect he's both a developer and a real estate investor. So that's where we came up with the request for a 2-foot setback instead of the 5 feet. There is a property to our rear that also abuts the Bass property, since the Bass property is deeper than our own. There is a 2-story brick accessory structure constructed in that corner with a gambrel roof. That property would theoretically already, I know while it would be grandfathered in, it does not comply with the rear setback on our yard and is located within less than 2 feet of the Bass property. So the proposed variance would be consistent with what's already there. So those are the points I would like to make in addition to the application. I'll be happy to address your questions. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's move on to citizen comments. Are there any citizen comments on this item? All right, seeing none. Questions from the board or a motion? Tell you what, we haven't taken a motion to actually close the public comment. So let's back up one step. Y'all think about the questions. Is there a motion to close the public comment?
Motion to close public comment.
Motion made by Board Member Scales. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member Reeves. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, so public comments closed. Now questions, you've had 30 seconds to think about it. Okay, or a motion, either one.
I move we approve the request for a variance for the property located at 206 Lewisburg Avenue because the criteria for granting said variance has been met.
Okay, motion made by Board Member Smith. Is there a second?
I'll second that. Yeah.
Second by Board Member Reeves. Any discussion? I agree with staff's presentation and applicants' comments as well. All right, let's vote one by one. Board Member Skills.
Approve.
All right, Board Member Reeves.
Approve.
Board Member Langley, approve, and Board Member Smith.
Approve.
All right, this item is unanimously approved.
Thank you so much. One editorial comment I make, I've been financing real estate in this market for 40 years, and of course, it's no surprise to you that Franklin has a difficult reputation. But I'll say this entire process has been a breeze, and the staff has been most supportive and directive of everything we've done. So I thank them and I thank you.
We appreciate the comments. I think sometimes all the negatives outweigh the positives, but I think staff appreciates it, and we do as well. Thank you. Have a
Thanks,
great
sir.
night. All right, item number 4 is going to be a variance request to allow a retaining wall to be located a minimum of 0 inches from the lot lines, and a variance request to allow a front yard retaining wall to be a maximum of 4 feet tall for the property located at 128 Barlow Drive. Staff?
Thank you. The subject property is located at 128 Barlow Drive, and it is zoned PD Plan District and is within the Highlands at Lad Park PUD subdivision. A single-family residential home has been built on the property, and the applicant is proposing a retaining wall in the front yard to support the sloped area. There is a 15-foot Middle Tennessee Electric, or MTE, easement occupying the majority of the front yard, which requires approval from the easement holder to build a retaining wall within that easement area. The owner has already obtained approval from the MTE for the proposed retaining wall, and the approval documentation is attached to the applicant's submittal. In addition to the slopes and the 15-foot MTE easement across the majority of the front yard space, there is an electrical pole box which is restricting the location of the proposed retaining wall. The location of the proposed retaining wall is abutting the sidewalk at the front of the property and extends all the way to the right side, or to the side property line to the west. For this reason, the applicant is requesting a variance to allow the retaining wall to be a minimum of 0 inches from the lot lines. In addition, the proposed retaining wall is a maximum 4 foot tall in order to support the front yard, which has slopes up to 60%. The zoning ordinance allows for front yard retaining walls to have a maximum height of 2 feet. For this reason, the applicant is also requesting a variance for the front yard retaining wall to be up to 4 feet in height. There is additional background information that staff feels is also relevant to acknowledge in this situation. Under today's development review process, lots within subdivisions are required to provide grading information at the site plan stage to demonstrate how stormwater runoff will be handled, as well as how the lots may be developed without the need for additional variances from the zoning ordinance. When the site plan was approved for this subdivision section, the city's review process did not require grading for the lot to be shown on the site plan, just for the streets in the subdivision. The existing slopes on the lot are a result of this. Under today's review process, grading for the lot would likely have been required prior to being sold, rather than the homeowner having to solve the challenge of the existing slope with the lot construction at a later date. I'll now go into staff analysis. I'm not going to reread the 3 criteria. Let me know if you would like me to repeat them. For request 1, to allow a retaining wall to be located a minimum of 0 inches from the lot lines. Criteria 1, the drastic slope of the front yard requires a retaining wall in order to prevent spillover onto the sidewalk for the front lot line. There is a 15-foot MTE easement occupying the majority of the front yard area and an electrical pole box at the west corner of the front of the property, abutting the west property line. In order to properly retain grade to stabilize the electrical pole box, the retaining wall would need to be located in front of the pole box, between the pole box and the sidewalks, and all the way to the west property line. These conditions necessitate the need for a retaining wall in the front yard and are preventing the location of the retaining wall from being in compliance with the setbacks requirements. Staff finds this criteria is met. Criteria 2. If the retaining wall were located in compliance with the setback requirements, it would not be able to retain grade to stabilize the electrical pole box properly. The slope in the front yard requires retaining wall to support it, and the electrical pole box restricts the location to be within the setback requirements. Staff finds this criteria is met. Criteria 3, staff finds that this would not be a detriment to the public good and it would not impair the intent of the zoning ordinance. The intent of the ordinance in this case is safety and aesthetic concern. The retaining wall is required to support slopes, and the location is restricted by the location of the pole box. The retaining wall is necessary to support the sloped area in order to protect the integrity of the sidewalk and the neighboring property. So the location of the retaining wall addresses the safety concern by properly supporting the sloped yard and pole box. In addition, the applicant has made an effort to minimize the height of the retaining wall to only the height necessary to support the slope and allow a maintainable front yard. This is an effort to address the aesthetic concern for having a retaining wall closer to the front lot lines than 5 feet. Staff finds this criteria is met. For request 2, to allow a front yard retaining wall to be a maximum of 4 feet tall. Criteria 1, in order to support the sloped front yard and create a yard that is able to be maintained, the retaining wall in the front yard must be taller than 2 feet. The grade in the front yard is up to 60%, which is considerably steep to maintain. The applicant would like to achieve 3-to-1 slope ratio in the front yard so that it can be maintained by the homeowner, and that would require a 4-foot retaining wall given the existing conditions of the front yard. Given these conditions, staff finds this criteria is met. Criteria 2, if the retaining wall were to comply with this 2-foot maximum height requirement for retaining walls in a front yard, the wall would potentially fail to support the sloped yard, and the steep slope of the yard would be difficult for the homeowner to maintain. Staff finds this criteria is met. Criteria 3, staff finds that this would not be a detriment to the public good and it would not impair the intent of the zoning ordinance. The retaining wall is necessary to support the sloped yard in order to protect the integrity of the sidewalk and the neighboring property, so it would not be a detriment to the public good. The intent of the ordinance in this case is aesthetic concern. The applicant has made an effort to minimize the height of the retaining wall to only the height necessary to support the slope and create a maintainable front yard. The applicant has also made effort to design the wall in a way that is aesthetically consistent with the existing house and the neighborhood. This is an effort to address the aesthetic concern for having a taller than allowable retaining wall in the front yard. Staff finds this criteria is met. Recommended motion. Staff recommends the Board of Zoning Appeals move to approve the variance request to allow a retaining wall to be located a minimum of 0 inches from the front lot lines, and approve the variance request to allow a front yard retaining wall to be a maximum of 4 feet tall for the property located at 128 Barlow Drive, because the criteria for granting a variance have been met. Thank you.
Thank you, staff. Is the applicant present? If you could step forward, state your name and address for the record.
Yes, it's Matthew Grayson, 128 Barlow Drive.
Perfect. You have any additional comments to add?
I do not have any additional comments, but I'm free to address any questions you may have.
Okay, perfect. Thanks. All right, next we will move to public comments. Are there any citizen comments on this item? All right, seeing none, is there a motion to close the public comment?
I move we close the public comment period.
Motion made by Board Member Smith. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member Reeves. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, public comment is closed. Any questions from the board?
I've got a couple of questions.
Yes.
Does the homeowners association require approval for the retaining wall to be that close to the sidewalk as well as at the height of the retaining wall?
So they just, what they look at is just the aesthetics of it, the materials. Then they require us to go to the city to get permits as needed.
Okay, so whatever gets approved here is okay with the HOA?
Yes.
Okay. My second question is that the write-up says that it's consistent with the neighborhood? The
Yes.
height of the retaining wall is consistent with the neighborhood? I went and looked at the property yesterday. I did not drive around the entire neighborhood.
Right.
I'm right up here to say that. I didn't see a retaining wall that was that tall. Certainly understand the need from, the slope of the yard. But are there other retaining walls in the neighborhood that are 4 feet tall?
Yes, yeah. If you're coming in and you got 128 Barlow on the left, you go around down that corner, and all the way down at the bottom is when you'll start to see there's one on the right.
Okay.
kind of adjacent to or across from the other new construction home. And then if you go further up and turn left and go down that street, I don't know the specific name, but there's 3 to 4 foot walls over there as well.
Okay. Ariella, have we approved in that neighborhood for retaining walls to be 4 feet tall?
Not since I've been here. I haven't seen an application for that come in. I would also like to point out that that comment was more specifically the design of the wall being consistent with retaining walls in the neighborhood. Staff doesn't necessarily know if the height is consistent with other retaining walls in the front yard area. So it may be true, but staff's comment was more on the design of the wall.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, just one thing. I know you're requesting 4 feet. The wall plans, which was included in the packet, kind of shows what the side view of this would be, and it says height varies not to exceed 6 feet. But we're looking for 4, is that right?
Yeah, it's so building codes requires it to be accounted for to the bottom of the footer. So there's a foot that you don't
Okay.
see. So on the plot plan, I kind of explained it's 4 feet showing, 1 foot below.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
And yeah, just to clarify more on that, for building permit, building code purposes, that's correct for measuring the height of the wall. In terms of the zoning ordinance, measuring the height of the wall is from base elevation to
Yep.
the top of the wall. So
Got it.
those are a little inconsistent in that the plans show from the very bottom of the wall, but for zoning ordinance and for variance reasons, it's measured a little bit differently. So
Gotcha,
4 feet
understood.
is
Thank you.
max.
Thank you.
Any additional questions? Okay, I am ready to entertain a motion when our board member's ready.
I move to approve the variance request to allow a retaining wall to be located a minimum of 0 inches from the lot lines. I also move to approve the variance to allow a front yard retaining wall to be a maximum of 4 feet tall for the property located at 128 Barlow Drive, as the criteria for granting each variance have been met.
Okay, motion for approval for both these variance requests made by Board Member Scales. Is there a second?
Second?
Second by Board Member Reeves. Let's go one by one. Board Member Scales.
Approve?
Board Member Reeves.
Approve.
Board Member Langley, approve. And Board Member Smith.
Approved.
All right, so item number 4 is approved.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
I think that's our last item. Is there a motion for adjournment?
I move we adjourn.
Motion for adjournment made by Board Member Smith. Is there a second?
Second that.
Second by Board Member Reeves. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, guys. Have a great night.
You as well.